So I found the time to create the body on my machine. This is the guitar body that I've drawn in a previous video. I've adapted the cam process a bit, and I thought I'd like to share that with you. Starting out with the drill strategy here. It drills 4 holes for the dowels, and I've created the points in the sketch here. So I've drawn a square and I've selected 4 points which are equally distant to each other. And that's just a simple drill strategy. 4 faces. It has a 6mm flat bit. It has a plunge rate of 300. That's fast enough. And it goes down 12mm. My dowel holes, or my dowels, are 24. And it's on a chip breaking strategy. So it's a partial retract. It goes down a few millimeters, then goes up again, and then goes down a few more. Then we have the face strategy, and the face strategy just takes off a few millimeters of the stock material. If you look from the right side, it just takes off a few millimeters over here, and and it stops just above the actual shape that I want. This is the process. It runs at 3000 millimeters per minute. I've selected this chain over here just to get the shape correct. Nothing special. There's a stuck to leave on 0.1 millimeters. That's just for the later job, the parallel job that creates the final shape. And nothing fancy here as well. So then we have the contour strategy, and this basically shapes the whole body from the side. I take off an extra layer, so then I can avoid those dreaded red lines while doing some other strategies. But also I'm creating these tabs over here, so it's the holding tabs, just to secure the body in the stock material. I'll show you the strategy. It's at 3000 millimeters per minute. Again, same bit, 6 millimeters. The tabs are 6 millimeters wide and 6 millimeter high as well. And if you look from the top, then you can see there are really just 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm taking off 1 extra millimeter just to make sure that I'm completely through when I flip the board. And there's a roughing pass as well. Let me see. It has a maximum step over of 5.7. I'm taking off 5 millimeters per pass. That can be done easily. And basically that's it. Then we have a few pocket strategies, and this will make the holes for the tremolos and as well for the pickups, as well for the neck joint. The pockets for the tremolo is kind of special, because if you have a good look, it's not completely down. It's just running up until half of it, so up until this line. I'll show you the strategy. It's running at 3000 millimeters again. Nothing special here. You can see which line I've selected. That's the one over here, the top side. And the bottom height is at a certain edge, which is over here. That's this line over here. I'm doing this at multiple depths of 5 millimeters again. And well, I'm using a ramp strategy. It's a type helix, so it'll turn in small rounds. And let me see if I can show you. If I select this, you can see these red circles here, and those are the helix strategies. So for the pickups, it's basically the same thing. There are 2 chains. I've selected the bottom chains here, and selected contours are on the bottom. I'm using multiple depths of 5 millimeters. Really, again, the ramp has a helix type, and basically that's it. And then we get to the interesting part, the parallel job. And as you can see, it's running horizontally, but also a bit on the side over here. So as you can see, these lines are curved over here. Running at 3000. I could do this at 5. I could do this at 6 even. But you know, you learn every day. So I'm doing this at 3, and maybe later on I'll be doing this at 6. Avoid and touch surfaces. There are 72 faces that I'd like to avoid. So just to make sure that these holes aren't worked at, and here this also I don't want to be touched. So there's a bottom height which is selected at this point. Let me see, kind of halfway. So that'll save me some time as well. Nothing special here. There's a step over of 1 millimeter. That could be easily be 0.5 millimeters or 0.3 for a smoother end result. Maybe I'll do that later. And I'm doing this both ways as well. I learned that if I'm doing a parallel process and using a step over of 1 millimeter, it's not really a fine result, but you can always sand it down. So it's good for me at this point. Here's nothing special to see. And for the last strategy, we have a pocket, and I'll show you what that does. It makes the hole for the controls as well as for the tremolo pins. And I'll show you the strategy as well. 3000 millimeters per minute, 4 chains, selectors, contours. I'll make them just slightly deeper just to make sure that I'm completely through. And using multiple depths again of 5 millimeters. Nothing special. Helix again, you know, it's just same old. And this works perfectly for the top side. So for the bottom side, we need to flip the board. There you go. And we have a few strategies as well. Basically, they are the same as for the top side. So we need a phase process as well. As you can see, this phase process again takes up a few millimeters. I'll show you the complete strategy. 3000 millimeters per minute again. Stock selection is this outside curve. I don't care that this line is not over here. So later on, when you're doing the parallel process, it'll take off just a millimeter vertically, and so there's no trouble that this bit will be higher after the facing process. So this is nothing has changed here. Stuck leave again 0.1 millimeters just to prepare for the parallel process later on. Nothing special here. Then we have a few pocket selections again, creating the holes for the tremolo. I'll show you the process. Again, 3000 6 millimeter bit. I selected this chain just to create the same hole as on the other side. I did select a bottom height, which is over here. This is the bottom really of the spring section of the tremolo. I'm using multiple depths of 5 millimeters, and basically that's it. Again, ramp type is a helix. Nothing special here. Then we have a pocket strategy for the spring section of the tremolo. This takes off some more material of the spring section. I'll show you the strategies. 3000 millimeters per minute, 2 chains. So the lower chain and the upper chain. Nothing special. Multiple depths 5 millimeters. Well, again, ramp type helix. Then we get to the pocket section of the controls. And this is one of the more larger areas that I take out. There's a chain over here, tool inside of boundary, so it'll only touch the area that's within the pocket, not on the edges of the pocket. I'm using a bottom height, which is this face. Well, nothing special here as well. Maximum roughing step line I set to 5 millimeters, and well, again, helix type, nothing special here. Then we have the then we have the drill section for the neck joints. I'm making here a few holes for the screws to hold on to the neck. I'm using a control. I'll show you the strategy first. 4 faces, whole bottom. I took off some extra material just to make sure I'm completely through, and I'm using a chip breaking strategy again, just so the drill bit goes down, up, and just again down, just to make it more easy for the bit to drill some holes. Then we have a contour strategy, which makes the larger holes over here just to fit the head of the screws. And I'm taking off some material over here as well, just to make sure that the little plate that goes over the cover that goes over the terminal holes and the control holes, that'll stay in place. I'll show you what the strategy is. 2000 millimeters per minute. My error could be 3, could be 4 as well. 2 chains selected. Selected contours are at the bottom. Nothing special really. It's a quick and dirty process. Then all that is left to do is the contour process, which is basically the same as on the other side. I'm creating these tabs as well over here, just to make sure that this side is being held as well. I'll show you the strategy. 3000 millimeters per minute. I'm creating tabs. I'm creating a few more tabs. I believe I make 5, but I'm not sure. I believe it was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the selection edge again is just 1 millimeter down, just to make sure I'm completely through. There's a roughing pass over here, 5.7. well, it's basically the same even, in multiple steps of 3 millimeters. I'm not sure why I did that. So basically that's it. The parallel process, which is a process that makes the final shape. As you can see, it also touches this comfort zone of the guitar body. And 3000 millimeters per minute, could be higher, as I told you before. Avoiding a few surfaces that I don't want to touch. The bottom edge, it's just 1 millimeter down, just to make sure that everything is being touched. It has a pass direction of 90 millimeters. If you change this number to 180 or 270, you'll change the direction of the lines. Step over again is 1 millimeter. I'm doing it both ways. In future, maybe I'll be doing this just one way, just to get a smoother result. But I'll see about that later. So basically that's it. I'll show you the simulation. And it'll come out like this. It's so busy calculating the other side as well. This would be the results. So I'll show you the actual machine now, and I have some comments about that as well. So the job starts with creating the dowel holes in my scrap board. I'm placing the material directly in the center of my drill bit. I'm securing it with screws. I'm creating the 0 position for Z with my touch probe, and then I'll make the 4 dowel holes in the bottom side of my top material. So I'm using the stock. I'm using the dowel holes to create a firm position for my stock material. So here I flip the board, again setting 0 on top of the material, and then I can start my first job. Again, creating holes again because I'm going to flip the board later on. Now you can see the face strategy, and I'm taking off too little material. You can see the lines on the wood that'll stick, and I want that to come off in this strategy. So on the bottom side I've changed the stepover to 5mm instead of 5.7, and that creates a nice smooth finish which I do not have here. Along the way I'm cleaning the machine as well with my vacuum cleaner, just to keep things a bit more visible, and also I can then see how the machine is doing. This is the contour process, and this is the tremolo process, creating the holes for the tremolo, for the 2 pickup holes, 5mm per pass. And now it's doing the neck joint. Again, 5mm per pass is easily doable. This is the nicest process, I think. This is the parallel process. It has a stepover of 1mm, and maybe later on I'll be doing this with a round bit, because then you get much nicer and cleaner results. I'm doing this with a flat bit. I learn every day, so if I'll be doing this with a round bit, I expect a much nicer result. Although this is pretty clean as well. I have to do a bit more sanding though, that I wouldn't be doing with a round bit, I guess. So this whole process of machining takes up an hour, including this parallel process. This parallel process is by far the longest. This takes up about 35 minutes, just because of the smaller steps. It could take longer if I take more smaller steps, like even smaller steps than just, let's say, 0.5mm. But you know, I just wanted to do it within an hour. So it's nearly finished now. And this doesn't make such a mess because it's just smaller steps and no big steps. There it goes, creating the holes for the controls and for the tremolo. So it's done. So now I can clean up the machine, take out all the dirt, and unscrew my stock material, flipping the board, just sanding it down a bit, placing the dowels, securing it again with screws. And now the Z0 is on the bottom of the material, so the scrap board now is the Z0. X and Y still are machine center. So now it's starting the facing job with the smaller stepover, and as you can see, it has a more smooth finish. I'll start vacuuming in a minute. There you go. It's a much smoother finish, so there's less material later on to sand down. This is the tremolo hole. It's a pretty rough and dirty job. It's like 5mm per pass. Takes up a few minutes. There you go. This is the controls hole. That's the deepest hole that I'm creating in this body. My bit is like 32mm. and it's really on the edge of the what I can do with this bit. So now I'm creating holes for the neck joint, and I'm doing a contour strategy, creating tabs as well, just to hold the body into place. So when that is nearly done, then I'll start doing the parallel strategy. Again, 1 millimeters per step, and also creating the comfort zone of the body at the back of the guitar. And this takes up about just, again, a half an hour or so. Everything, both top side and bottom side, are about an hour. And maybe in future I'll be doing this in smaller steps with a round bit, but also just one way direction instead of both ways. I guess it just gives a cleaner result. I have to test that. I haven't done that yet, but maybe in future I will do that. So now it's completely done. Cleaning the machine again. And then I'm going to unscrew the stock material. And these are the pictures that I took right after the process. You can see the lines of the parallel process. That's something you just have to sand down. Here I took it out of the stock material, gave it good sanding, and I think the end result is pretty good. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much.